invited guests, speakers, and members of the House. My name is Manjiri Kunde.
And my name is Hasni Toti. On behalf of SEGA, we welcome you to the 3rd International Conference on Sustainable Energy and Green Architecture.
SEGA is a platform for long-term sustainable development which can only be achieved if sustainable energy and green architecture are considered together.
This conference aims to bring together researchers and practitioners from diverse disciplines to meet, share their experience, and to give their new perspective in sustainability for building environment.
So, getting to the point, let's hear it straight from the scholars. We would like to invite Associate Professor Isari Hansa Charun-Roj, President, Rajamangala University of Technology, Rattanakosin, to open the conference and welcome guests and speakers to the conference.
I feel much honored to greet and welcome you to this 3rd International Conference on Sustainable Energy and Green Architecture, organized by Rattanakosin College for Sustainable Energy and Environment, Rajamangala University of Technology, Rattanakosin. This conference is organized to provide a platform to the researcher and practitioner to share and exchange ideas on sustainable energy, environment, and green architecture. The conference has renowned keynote speakers and participants from various countries, including France, Algeria, South Korea, Togo, Madagascar, and Thailand. Sharing their contribution, this not only benefits the students who attend as they would gain a wider perspective on doing their own research, but is also going to raise the bar of the researcher for future. I take this opportunity to thank the International Scientific Committee for their immense contributions to maintain high standards and relevant to the conference theme. I hope that apart from being a successful endeavor, considering the number of centers we have, this conference also proved to be an opportunity for you to delve into the outstandingly preserved Thai culture. I look forward to this conference also as another milestone in the path toward a greener and a better tomorrow. I would like to thank all the organizing committee members for their hard work for bringing the paper plans to life. Also, I wish all of you every success in your research works and look forward to practical outcomes of the intensive discussions and rigorous works for more conferences like this. Thank you and enjoy your stay in Bangkok.
Dear Kun Danai Ekamal from the Director of Energy Regulation and Conservation Bureau from the Ministry of Energy, distinguished administrators and deans of various universities and faculties, distinguished guest speakers and conference participants, ladies and gentlemen. The best thing to understand each other is to give you a brief review about what is SEGA, the starting point, and what we are looking for. So, today it is our first international conference organized by our university, and this is, let's say, a big step forward towards improving our standards and going toward an Asian university. So this event has been, I would say, organized in cooperation with the Faculty of Architecture from Kansai State University, with which we do have a signed MOU, and we are looking forward to develop more and more our activities. So I would like to give you a brief review about SEGA first, SEGA, Sustainable Energy and Green Architecture. This teams, this topic, okay, I'm very keen, okay, but it is part of my heart, it is part of mine, of myself. So the first one we did organize, that was almost 10 years ago. So we have agreed, okay, but at that conference, that we can only come to sustainable buildings, achievements, if we consider all issues together. We used to separate between engineers and architects, so we have to work together. That was almost 10 years, as I did mention, and we used to have eminent professors from USA and from France. I show you a picture. The second one, not so like just about 3 years from now, with Kasesat University and INTA, which is set for International Network for Tropical Architecture. And again, more or less, we got the same message. Okay, we have to keep our tradition, our culture, and come with something new that is adequate for the country. And here are pictures of the second conference. Today we go to this one, and I would like to say, okay, why is this conference theme is climate change mitigation through sustainable built environment development. We all, okay, we still have in mind those pictures, and those are, if you look at a picture itself, you can see, okay, well, a lot of message behind it. This is, I would say, okay, I would not say we have to blame ourselves. I would have to say we have to consider our future more properly. So we don't want to see this happening again. And the way is to develop, okay, well, a good and sustainable environment. Those are airplane, I guess, okay, but the quantities are dramatic, okay, well, a lot of losses in life and in money. This is Bangkok, and this is the city where we are. Streets have become parking. So just this is after the floods. Okay, we got a high wave at a certain part of Thailand. It is not a tsunami. It is just a very high wave. So what does this say? All those pictures. Okay, we have to take care of our energy we are consuming, and we have to build houses in a good way, to respect nature, and so on. This is our university. We stopped working for almost two months, and it had some impact even on our conference, because we had to delay the dates from December to March. Okay, but some people did apologize for not joining because it is quite March. Okay, but they are in any way. Okay, this is okay. We did promise we will go ahead, and we will go ahead. So some people, okay, but did think about, let's say, coming up with a new architecture. So this is on the left side. It is Dubai, but it is man-made, and this is Buddha, not so far from our university. It is nature-made. The Japan, and I would say, okay, well, I would thank, okay, our participants from Japan for coming. So it's almost 1 year old. It is a big event. Those pictures should let us think about our features as a whole. Besides from those two events, if you go back, okay, we had many problems, okay, from nature or from people as a part. So through this conference, what do we do? We do expect, and we got quite a significant number of papers. Almost we received over than 100 papers from about various topics which are included in the conferences. It is an announcement. It has been announced. Okay, but selected papers which will be related to energy, indoor climate, and so on, will be published in the International Journal of Ventilation, okay, which has some impact factor too. The way to come up to good and sustainable built environment, I strongly believe in only one thing. Okay, the way is through sustainable education. You should not talk only about policy and policy makers and so on, so on, just only part of the game. So we have to provide good education for our students, and our university with the under the, I would say, the leadership of our president and all the ministers, we have agreed to this point. Okay? We should go through this as a main issue, student-based. So our college to offer right now 2 programs in sustainable energy and environment, and with 2 minors, technology and management, and second one, policy and economics. So we just started opening our doors. We will have students since almost 2 years. We have around 100. This event would have not come, let's say, to this point without the generous sponsorship of various companies. Most of them, they are not just only sponsors. We are looking toward them as partners. Like this, we can keep our standards and we can keep, let's say, our registration as low as we can. So I would like to thank all of them for supporting our conference. And here again, I would like to thank you again for joining us. And as some people did apologize and did make a request, they would like to come next time. So we are in draft talking about the second year. There will be another one, maybe much more important than this one. So thank you again for joining us. And in my name and in the name of the community as a whole, Oscar Cesar from KVUTT, from our university, I would like to thank all the staff, and I would like also to say sorry for any mistake we may have done in the past and we may do today or until the end.
We would like to request Mr. Danai Ekamol, the Director of Bureau of Energy Regulation and Conservation, the Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency, a representative from Ministry of Energy, to please come to the podium. He specializes in energy management. Today, he will discuss about the energy policies and regulations in Thailand.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am on behalf of Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency, Ministry of Energy. It is my great pleasure today to be here in this open ceremony of the 3rd International Conference on Sustainable Energy and Green Architecture, which is organized by Rattanakosin College for Sustainable Energy and Environment, Rajamangala University of Technology, Rattanakosin, and Faculty of Architecture, RCSEE University as a co-host. With the conference theme of climate change mitigation through sustainable built environment development. Ladies and gentlemen, with the main mission of our department, which is under Ministry, we have our main role in to promote energy efficiency for all economic sector, as well as encouraging the production and utilization of clean energy, especially the vision in promoting clean energy. It would consistent with the situation of each area as cost-effective and sustainable, develop and commercialize the clean energy technology for both domestic consumption and international export. In addition, it is our focus to also create the cooperation network that will lead Thailand to an energy knowledge-based society, so that the economy of the country will be secure and offer sustainable happiness. So, having said that, the goal of this conference is extremely in line with the vision of the department and our ministry of energy. Therefore, I strongly support this conference and believe that the result for this conference will be major drive for the sustainable society in Thailand and also internationally, and bring the sustainable happiness to all of us. Finally, I would like to thank all parties for making this conference happen, and I would like to take this opportunity to officially open the 3rd International Conference on Sustainable Energy and Green Architecture. I do wish all of you to have an outstanding experience in this conference and also have a pleasant stay in Thailand. Thank you.
We would like to invite Professor Dr. If Gagnon to holds the K.C. Irving Chair in Sustainable Development at the University of Hong Kong. Today, he'll be talking to us on the title, Renewable Energy, Smart Grids and Green Community. Please welcome him with a round of applause, please.
Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the invitation to speak to you today, this morning, at the opening of this conference. First, I would like to congratulate Professor Joseph Kidali and his organizing committee for organizing this conference, but also for having the wisdom of changing the date of the conference because of the flooding here in Bangkok. In Canada, we saw many pictures in the news about the flooding, but I think the picture that Professor Joseph presented a few minutes ago gave a good indication of the extent of the flooding here. There's always a challenge of changing a date of a conference because people plan many months in advance, sometimes years in advance, to go to a conference. So thank you for those participants who could arrange a schedule to be here. And if not, well, I'm sure many will come back in SEGA 04. I will talk about many subjects this morning. Most of it is related to our own research work, my research group in Canada. There's a few elements that are not based on my research group or my research work, but I think it presents some good example of the type of work being done in sustainable energy and green architecture in the Canadian context. Well, as we know, we cannot take policies or programs in other countries or other regions and just adopt them without adapting them. So please see this presentation as some ideas for you to reflect on, to think about, and maybe some piece of information you will already know, maybe some other piece will be new for you, but at the end, hopefully, you will get a picture of various policy options, various programs related to renewable energy and green communities that can maybe be helpful for you here in Thailand. So I will talk about renewable energy, I will talk about smart grids, and I will talk about green communities, and I will give you a few ideas of ways to move forward here in Thailand at the end of this presentation. We consume energy. Maybe we consume too much energy. This is a famous picture from NASA where we see the world when it is light up in the nighttime. So we see where there's a lot of population, but mostly we see where people have access to energy. United States, Southern Canada, where there's a lot of people, Europe, we see regions of Southeast Asia, we see India, but we see other countries where there's a lot of people but not much energy, like Africa. So it gives an indication of the lack of distribution of energy, and it shows that energy is not distributed uniformly on this planet. We also see that various countries, if you look at the color scale on this slide here, the color scale, if it's orange, it means that there's a lot of energy consumed per capita. And the lighter color means that there's not a lot of energy consumed per capita. So you see that North America, we see Scandinavia, Australia, we consume a lot of energy per capita, so for every person. Other countries, for example in China, consume not much energy per capita. But if you look at the total energy consumption in a country, as indicated by the circle, we see that some countries, like the United States, consumes a lot of energy. But we also see that countries where there's a low consumption per capita, like China, because there's a lot of people, well, they consume a lot of energy. The total amount of energy consumed is very large. So we can imagine that when these people will increase their consumption of energy, the demand for energy will increase drastically also, and there's a lot of negative impact, notably climate change, that will result from that increase of consumption of energy. Where does the energy come from? This is data from IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The we see that the consumption of energy has been increasing steadily for many years. Okay? The consumption of energy. A lot of the consumption of energy is, the pink here, is from CO2 from fossil fuel. Now we see that most of the CO2 in the atmosphere, the greenhouse gas, most of it is coming from CO2 fossil fuel use. It's 56%. Where does this energy consume? Well, we see that there's a lot of energy supply, that's electricity, a lot in transport, and a lot in residential and commercial building. So almost half of the energy consumed is related to this conference here, sustainable energy and green architecture. And also we see that this energy that we consume in the topic of this conference is the major contributor of greenhouse gas emission on the planet. So we need to do something to reduce greenhouse gas emission because we are part of the problem. Why is it important to reduce greenhouse gas emission? Well, these are data where we see some curves. The blue shading represents the global